Welcome to Play PSVR 2, the podcast. This is episode 126, and it is officially summer, and it is gonna be hot. But there is one question that just bears to ask, and I need the answer, Alex. Spit or swallow?
Spit every time.
Watermelon seeds. Spit or swallow the watermelon seeds. I mean, I love me some watermelon, but there's just always so many seeds, and I don't know, should I spit them out? Should I just swallow them and let watermelon grow in my tummy? You tell me.
So first of all, I don't know if you're into this scientific breakthrough. They have seedless watermelons now. You can just buy seedless watermelon.
It's not what my mom bought.
Second of all, just swallow those suckers. Who gives a crap, man? Or spit them out into a collection, then put them all in your mouth, and then spit them out like a machine gun.
I'm going to pretend they're sunflower seeds, but there's just no seed to eat. I'm just sucking on them.
That sounds like a movie character who thinks they're cool, and they act like they're cool, and then somebody finds out that the sunflower seeds they've been spitting out have been watermelon seeds.
The watermelon's good, though. There it is. Yeah.
It's like a tough cowboy who loves watermelon.
I'm going to turn that to the MLB. All of them going to be sucking on watermelon seeds instead of sunflower seeds. And backer. Sorry, I'm literally eating watermelon. I know the voice thing prevents the listeners from hearing small sounds. So you, the listener, can't listen to me eating watermelon, but I'm shoveling it in, baby. But before I get too hog wild on this watermelon, Alex, we got to talk about the gamer juice.
I thought watermelon was your gamer juice. Okay.
Oh, no. That's my gamer food. The orange mango sparkling ice water is my gamer juice. I'm all fruity tonight, baby. I'm a fruity boy.
Did you just get it from a can and put it in a nice glass? Because, I have watermelon gamer juice water, but I feel like you would have raked me over the coals if I did that again.
Yeah, that's horrible. But yes, this did come from a container that I put in a glass with ice. Chilled is always the best. Dude, I'm going to take watermelon and put it in my orange mango. Holy, let's see what happens.
It's gonna taste like you have watermelon and orange in your mouth at the same time.
It's good though. It's
just sweet. It's just more sweet. I had that thought, Adam, because I have this water infuser thing in my fridge. So I made watermelon infused water, and it just tasted like water with a hint of the outside rind of the watermelon, not the sweet part, but just, when you eat watermelon, you get down to the part that's whitish green.
Oh yeah,
that part. It just tasted like water. It tastes like water that tastes like that. It wasn't great. My gamer juice, I stole from my kids. Strawberry kiwi Capri Sun. Yeah,
that's good. Those are also refreshing. My issues are not very big. I sucked down one of those things in one slurp.
And that's gonna go into Area B. That little sound bite right there. So we'll save that.
Yeah. Dang it.
Let me just make a note right here. Episode 126, 127, Adam sucking it down in one slurp.
That's right. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Does it hold up to when we were kids?
So it's strawberry kiwi, but you can't taste the strawberry. You can't taste the kiwi. It just tastes like sugar water.
Really?
It might be me being an old man or something like that. It's just not. Well, I will say it's better than the cherry flavored ones that just taste like red Kool-Aid, which is just an abysmal drink. Red Kool-Aid's the worst.
Man, these seeds fly out through your lips. It's like a bullet coming between these cheeks, these lip cheeks. Alex, we need to get moving, though. June days, it is over, folks. We are sorry to announce it's July. June days are over, but we had a heck of a run. What was that? 30 days of non-stop PSVR 2 action. I don't even know what Master Noid is, and I must have not watched that stream because I still don't know what it is. I didn't stream it, but you did.
I did. So this is the demo of it. This game came out. Master Noid, unfortunately, came out the exact same day as Sea Smash, and if you look at it, it seems like a low-rent knockoff version of Sea Smash. I think it's just one or two guys made this game, and I love playing these kind of games in PSVR 2 because they're super indie, and people just trying to do some fun, weird stuff, get their grips. And the game was pretty fun. So do you remember the game Arkanoid, Adam, where you have like the blocks and you're the little, it's like one player Pong. You have the little paddle and you have to hit the ball and knock all the blocks out. I think they just call it block breaker and stuff like that in other
I think
video games.
I have a game in mind. If it's exactly the same game you're thinking of, I'm not sure, but I have a game in mind.
Well, this is that, but in VR. They call it Masternoid because there's obviously like, copyright stuff going on there. But this is in VR, so it's like 3D. So instead of having just a paddle you move left and right to send the ball back up to the blocks, you have like a gun and you pull the trigger and it shoots the ball back. So as the ball approaches you, when it gets close enough, you can pull the trigger to shoot it back. And you don't really have to be so careful like you would in Arkanoid to like precisely have your gun right where the ball is coming towards you. But one cool thing is, like in Arkanoid, it was nice because if the ball was coming at an angle, you could whip the paddle and then put some spin on the ball so that it would go off at a certain angle. Here you do a similar thing. As you're pulling the trigger, you have like a split second where you can flick the gun in a certain direction to kind of sling the ball in the direction you want it to go to. And so it sounds kind of difficult, and it is a bit difficult to master, but it ends up working really well. And so the name of the game is, before you get overwhelmed, just get this ball, launch it into this 3D space, and knock out all the blocks. And there's power-ups and stuff. It's actually kind of dazzling. You're floating in space doing this. And then the music is good, and we'll talk about that kind of stuff later. The music's really nice, so it makes the whole experience really enjoyable. It's a free demo. That's what I streamed. That was half of my stream for that day. I recommend people at least try it out. I think it's $15. I'll probably wait for it to go on sale or something like that. But I had a surprisingly enjoyable time with it. Despite, I think, VR Grid coming in and saying, oh, you're really scraping the bottom of the barrel. You are the bottom of the barrel, VR Grid. You are the bottomest of the barrel. You are the most bottom I know in the PSVR space, and don't you forget it. Next game on the list is Pixel Ripped 1978. This was the second game I played that day. This is the third of the Pixel Ripped series. The first one had you in 1989. The second one jumped to 1995, doing some SNES classics. This one takes you back to 1978, where you are working for Atari, making Atari games, and you get sucked into the Atari games. And it's a lot of the same stuff where you're kind of shifting from genres. At one moment you're a person sitting in an office debugging a game. People come and talk to you, and you're having to play the game while they're talking to you, and they're asking for like a donut, and you got to hand it to them, and they're asking for a cartridge, and you got to pick it up and hand it to them while you're playing this game. And then something happens with the game, and you slap the screen, and you get sucked into the game, and now you're inside this Atari game in VR going around. The thing that I really enjoyed about it, and we'll have a review of it next week, is that it shows me that the game design that we love in games like Zelda for the Super Nintendo is totally doable in VR without much alteration to the overall design of the game. I mean, it becomes 3D, first person, but it is still fun to walk around these low poly towns and fight these simple enemies by swinging stuff around and shooting simple bullets. And it gives me hope that other developers might go in that direction. But do you have anything you want to say about these two games, Adam, while you slurp down your juice in one gulp?
I don't think I do. I'm interested in Pixel Ripped. When it goes on sale, I might consider it, maybe. But I'm definitely not playing Masternoid. I'm just on that C Smash. I'm getting C smashed every night, baby. I love it. So, I'm glad you got to play two games. I'm glad people showed up. I'm glad you had a good time. But it's time to move on.
And I played the next game because Adam doesn't participate in June days. He feels better than June days. He thinks he doesn't have to play games. He doesn't have to hold up his end of the bargain. So I played a game that I purchased. I was excited about it at launch, and I totally forgot I had it in my library until I was looking for the next game to play. It is The Last Clockwinder. Now, those who have listened to the podcast know that one of my favorite PSVR games is Transpose, the game where you make copies of yourself and solve puzzles by working together with yourself. I freaking love that game. The mechanics were awesome. The theme was awesome. This is a totally different theme of a game, but the mechanics are near identical. You are a person who's in this giant tree. You have to get like a pump working to suck water out of the tree or put water in the tree. I don't know the whole story yet. But the way you do that is you have to capture these seeds from these plants that are growing, and you have to put them into like a pump. And that process needs to be automated. You can't do it fast enough yourself. So what you do is you make copies of yourself, like grabbing the fruit off the tree and putting it in the bucket. And then those get put in at a certain rate, and you're turn a little crank to process them. And what happens is you end up getting these nice little difficult but fun situations where, you know, I'll make a copy of myself grabbing fruit off of 2 trees and throwing them up in the air. And then I make another copy of myself grabbing that fruit and catching it and putting it in the bucket. Or I'll make a copy of myself grabbing fruit from 2 separate trees and then leaning and reaching real far to drop them in the bucket. And the goal is to do as few copies as possible to get as many fruits cultivated all in the same amount of time. It's very fun. It's really enjoyable to like put in this work and solve the puzzle this way. It's just my favorite type. One of my favorite types of game mechanics I've seen. I've played a couple other games like this. So awesome. I can't wait to revisit this game and go all the way through it. Adam, how about that? How you feel about that?
I watched this stream. I was not impressed. It looked like work, and I'm not about that. I want to live life. I want to. I just hear your Capri Sun. You're the slurper, big boy.
How about this? What do you think I'm done with my Capri Sun? You ever seen somebody do this? Free refill, baby.
Yeah.
Free refill, baby.
It's nothing but saliva. Big time. So yeah, I'm not that interested. What I am interested in is puzzling places. I don't understand, Alex. I tried to stream this twice during June days. It wouldn't stream. I don't know why, but I got it to work, and it was the perfect time for it. This game, something about it, dude, it is just straight up good. You're relaxed. You're putting together puzzles. You can listen to music. It's just a really chill. I need to calm down. I need to enjoy life. I need to breathe. I don't need an adrenaline rush 24/7. Even though I know every VR game, I'm like, I want action, but dang it, was it good? I don't think anyone showed up, but they missed out because I had a good friggin' time. I put together is something that was like a Mars research camp or something like that. Very good, pretty challenging. Not the hardest I've done, but it was muy bueno, as they say south of the border. Puzzling places, everybody. Consider it. It's a good game. Then I have a question about puzzling places. When you make these environments, because like I've done one puzzle in the game, and it was like this nice Taj Mahal type thing. And you have it?
I played it on another headset. Okay, that's all I'll say.
Oh, get off of this podcast. You lit liquor.
No, it was like a Taj Mahal type environment. Listen, it sucked on it because that headset's terribly uncomfortable. It was like a Taj Mahal environment. It was super cool looking, and it was an enjoyable time. I wonder, is there like, can you do the puzzle by like zooming in enough to where you're inside the environment and grab the pieces and put them together? Like, could I be in the Sistine Chapel and grabbing large pieces of the Sistine Chapel to put it together that way? Or do I always have to be outside of the environment putting it together?
Oh, no, sometimes you need to be inside. Now, it's not like you shrink or the puzzle gets big, but you can go into the puzzle and, yeah, you have to sometimes.
See, I would really, I mean, I know it's a lot to ask. It's kind of stupid of me to request, but it'd be so fun if I could, like, put myself into human size with respect to the object I'm building. Like, if I built the Colosseum, wouldn't that be awesome to then shrink yourself down to human size in the Colosseum and see what you just built and puzzling? That would be so fun.
You know how big that would be?
Yeah, it would be freaking huge, and the resolution is not up to it. I totally understand the technical limitations. It would be kind of fun to do that.
I think it would be cool if Res Infinite, which is the game I played next, came with your own sex chair that you can straddle in and fly midair. Oh, I understand the physical limitations, but I'm still going to request it. What a stupid thing to say, Alex. But Res, here's the thing. I still don't think PSVR 2 does anything for Res Infinite. I'm going to die on that hill. I think it's more of a port. It doesn't add anything. It's stupid, but dang, is that game good. It is just fun. It's engaging. It's immersive. It is a wonderful VR game. It's just a shame that they couldn't make it even more special with the PSVR 2. But, you know, thankfully, sometimes the gifts don't always keep giving. And Rez gave it to me a lot, and it was good. But there's no more to give. And I know you're going to complain here.
Here's my theory, Adam. You said that Res Infinite, the PSVR 2 didn't do anything for Res Infinite. And I'll agree with that statement. Do you want to know why that's true? Because there's nothing that you need to do to Res Infinite. It needs no more to be any better than it currently is. So I think the disagreement with us is, as a PSVR 2 game, for somebody who's never played Res Infinite, it's a disappointment that you might have to spend money again. But Res Infinite, in and of itself, on PSVR 2, on PSVR 1, on any other headset, is one of the best, bar none, VR experiences you can have. Now, I understand why you're disappointed that nothing was added to it beyond eye tracking, which is kind of bunk sometimes.
Eye tracking is awful. One more area. Could you not make one more 10-minute area? Why not? Why?
That's like asking. It's like asking Shakespeare to make one more play after Romeo and Juliet. All right, it's a masterpiece. Area.
He did.
I know, that's the joke.
He did. And I'm going to look it up. And if he did,
no, that's the joke, Adam. Okay. Anyways,
talk about the rest of the game.
So then the next game, I did the last 2 games of the month. The next game I played was Synth Riders. And Adam, I begrudgingly played Synth Riders. I didn't want to get sweaty, but here's what I did, man. I went all in on it. I turned on my PlayStation camera. You can watch the stream, and I watched the stream, and I did not look as good as I thought I might have looked when I was playing it on the stream. But I will tell you this, Adam, when you're playing Synth Riders, you feel like a dancing queen. You feel like you're dancing your ass off, and it feels so good. I freaking loved Synth Riders. That game is so fun. Here's why I like it, and here's why I didn't like Beat Saber. Beat Saber sacrifices your enjoyment of the music for the sake of like complex gameplay and difficult gameplay. Synth Riders, and I liked Audica more than Beat Saber because Audica seemed to relax a bit on that difficulty. It's still plenty difficult, but it seemed to relax more on that and allow you the flexibility and mobility to enjoy the movement that you can enjoy while dancing or pseudo dancing to these musical games. Synth Rider goes all the way in that direction. It says, you know what? We don't care about you smashing blocks. The goal of this game is to move your hands around in weird patterns that feels like you're dancing and have a good time with it and enjoy music that is complementary of that. And it worked so well. I played a Muse song. I played a Lindsey Sterling, like the Lindsey Sterling experience. That was amazing. I played a couple of the intro levels, and then I played like an Offspring song, which is, I don't know if it was Offspring, Pennywise. That didn't quite work. It was just pop punk and synth riders. I kind of hated that. But for the songs that are of this like vein of like electronic or dubstep, whatever you want to call it, Synth Riders was a total pleasure. And I can't wait to play more of it. And I'll stream it so you guys can watch me shake my ass. But it was so fun. I'm so glad. If any gift has been given to me by June Days, it's the fact that I was given an opportunity to play Synth Riders and sink myself into it. And it was a damned good time.
Romeo and Juliet was like one of the first plays he made. He has so many plays after that. And I think that's a bean, but whatever.
And here's the point, Adam. After Area X, you got Tetris Effect. After Tetris Effect, you got Humanity. Shakespeare's still doing work. Okay, here we go. Asking for another Area X is like asking for a Romeo and Juliet 2. All right? It's like asking for a Hamlet 2. We don't need more Area X because Area X is self-contained. It is perfect in its current existence. It needs no more to it. My God, you have 2 routes in that. You already have 2 Area X's. I don't need more.
More like handle it. Moving to the final game so I can talk about Hubris.
The last game I played, it was a short stream because it kind of got busted. Creed. I challenged our homeboy Shafe Dog to a match in Creed, and he whooped my ass in Creed. And I will contend to this day it is because of technical difficulties. Watch the stream. It's horrific how the multiplayer works in Creed. You cannot see your opponent. They do not move. The game of boxing is hit and don't get hit. When you play multiplayer, it's stand in front of somebody's frozen character, throw a million punches, and try to figure out which punches the server is going to register first. So really, it's who can throw the most punches as fast as possible because that's what the server is going to catch when it's calculating who hit who. Multiplayer sucks. It sucks. It doesn't work. It's awful. Maybe that was Shafe, but I don't think so. I can't recommend Creed. I hated that experience, not just because I lost. It worked fine on PSVR 1. I don't know what the hell the issue is. I'm very mad about it. Creed, I want my money back.
Man, what a way to end June Days. You getting your lunch eaten by Shafe Dog.
Shafe ate my box. He ate my lunchbox. My lunchbox.
Yeah,
My
your
lunchbox.
lunchbox. Okay, I have been waiting all day to talk about hubris, and it's gonna go down because I don't know.
All right, let's kick it off.
Hubris, take the stand. Gaming is in session, and I am your judge. Are you a PSVR 2 game worth our money, our time, and our listeners' attention? Just like reading a court case in Braille, you didn't see this judgment coming, but here it is. Straddle in. On the first count of real as the doctor's bill after a vasectomy, I bring in the evidence the incredible use of movement and dexterity in hubris. I've played a lot of PSVR, a lot of PSVR 2, and I can say this locomotion and this use of virtual reality is the best that I've ever experienced. Jumping and grabbing onto ledges is wildly realistic. Ducking and dodging around obstacles to shoot enemies is spot on. Swimming is done better than any game I have ever played, flat or in virtual reality. Picking up items, opening doors, crafting materials, climbing, and more just feels so incredible. And these things, I feel like, aren't just VR gimmicks. They are legitimately used in the game, and they are well done. You do them often. And I felt sick when I was climbing mountains or on ledges because I am naturally actually am afraid of heights, and it feels so immersive, and the feelings are innate because I fool myself. I think I'm on top of there. And when I look over the ledge, you get that feeling, that innate fear. And it's so awesome to feel that in such an accurate way. You will be crawling, climbing, jumping, running all throughout the game. And it's so wonderful that those feel incredible and are so lifelike. And because of that, on the 2 counts of real as a doctor's bill after a vasectomy, I do find you guilty.
This is surprising to hear because Hubris is a game that came out before PSVR 2. It's surprising to hear that it has like the best locomotion and VR components of any game you've played. I mean, you haven't played Horizon Call of the Mountain, which is good, but I wouldn't say it's the best, but it's a contender for it. I don't think you've played... You played To the Top, which doesn't have locomotion really, right? It's like you're grabbing stuff, and it's like a glorified version of teleportation. But I mean, even something like Resident Evil, I thought had really good locomotion. Resident Evil 7 did. So it's, I don't know, it's kind of odd.
Yeah. This is better because, one, you are more dynamic. I felt like I was hindered a bit in Resident Evil. Like it wasn't made for you to be loosey-goosey and jumping and platforming and grabbing ledges. This is much more free movement, and just the grabbing onto the ledges and moving with the different buttons, you can see like your hands, your fingers move. It's very responsive. The swimming is wonderful. Like you actually make the movements of swimming and move appropriately based on how you move them, whether it's a natural movement or not. I don't know. I was very surprised, and I'm excited for this. I hope this lays a foundation of what developers in the future will do, because it is now possible. There is no excuse for bad locomotion, poor tracking, or unlifelike movement in games anymore. I mean, well done.
All right, good to hear. Let's hear the next count.
So I head to the next count, and the reward for VR's first true platformer goes to Hubris. I don't know if this is exactly true. I'm sure maybe there's some platformers in VR. I don't know. But I will tell you this. At times, I feel like this is more of a platforming game than an action game. Again, the jumping, climbing, grabbing ledges, swimming, all that is extremely well done. But at some points in the game, it goes too far. You are literally platforming in this game like I've seen from no other VR game. On one hand, it's cool that we are now to the point where we can accurately jump and actually platform in these type of games. But then on the other hand, I hate platforming games. It is the lowest form of gaming known to man. So although I was impressed with the technical details of it, I didn't love doing it at all. And I did it. And I did it a lot. If you don't mind platforming, you're actually going to love this because, again, it's pretty neat that we can do it. But if you don't like platforming, if you don't like jumping from ledge to ledge, and I mean, the thing is, some of these are pretty difficult jumps, right? So you have to be very accurate. And on the very end of the ledge that you're jumping from, you need to jump, you need the time, and not only do you need to, and you have to perfectly grab onto the ledge, click the buttons at the right time to make some of these jumps. The timing needs to be perfect. And if you don't, if you miss it, you die. Now, thankfully, the autosave is pretty good. You don't go that far back, but it's something that, again, I don't love platforming, so I didn't love it, and there's a lot of it in the game. A lot of the game, you're like, where the heck do I go? What do I do? And it's because you got a freaking platform for the next 10 minutes to get to the next area. But regardless, that could be either a good or bad thing, depending on you, the gamer. But because of that, on the 5 counts of, and the reward for VR's first true platformer goes to Hubris, I do find you guilty. So, Alex, the platforming. What do you think about platforming in virtual reality?
So this is a bit funny to me. I mean, first of all, like, this is the same complaint people had with Horizon Call of the Mountain. It's like, yeah, it's fun to climb the mountain and stuff, but after a while, I'm just tired of climbing mountains. And you know, it works well. I just don't want to do it that much. Now, you complaining about hating platformers and hating doing so much of it and hating how it takes up so much of the game, To the Top is a pure platformer. It is only platforming. That is the only thing you do in the game.
But it's creative and it's fast. This isn't made for you to very quickly jump and kind of, I'm blanking. I'm sorry. What is that?
Uncharted?
Parkour.
Okay.
To the Top is almost like parkour. You're just trying to get to the top as fast as possible. They're creative. This is much more strategic. It's more realistic. It's nothing that you're going to speed run. So I think there's a difference there.
But is the movement and like the climbing and stuff like that and the paths that you take, are they predetermined? Like, yeah, I'm sitting here on the side of the mountain and there's like only one place I can put my hand to move up to the next spot? Or is there some kind of flexibility in where you're going to, how you're going to get to the top of this mountain, how you're going to get around this obstacle?
It's very negligible, the freedom. I mean, sometimes there's a little bit, but the big platforming sessions, it's predetermined, and there's really only one way to go.
Okay, which isn't bad. I mean, it could be good. It could be designed to be a really fun experience, but those things always kind of take me out of it because, like, okay, there's no risk here. Like, there's obviously somewhere for me to go. I'm never going to feel like I got stuck somewhere, which kind of takes some of the tension out of those experiences. But I understand what you're talking about, where it could be too much of a good thing, kind of.
Yeah. So moving to the final count, I do address the counts of giraffe at a penguin convention. And just like a giraffe at a penguin convention, something about Hubris just isn't right. It does so much well. There's combat, gun upgrades, the incredible VR aspects. The game is visually impressive. Tracking works extremely well. Haptic feedback is used. There is a story. I mean, it has everything, but just something isn't right. The plot is possibly the most uninteresting thing known to man. One of the main characters has to be maybe the worst voice actor I have ever heard in my life. The gun shoots lower than you would expect, so it's hard to be accurate on the first 2 shots. The game, through the kind of, you know, through the use of these boring and overused plot devices, like, oh, the elevator is out and you need to grab some fuses and put them in to get it running again. There are times where you have no idea what to do and you have to fight through this tedious and painful dialogue. There's a point in the game where you have to shoot squids and one character says, hey, your gun has a new mode to do this, but they don't tell you how to use it. And I spent 25 minutes learning that, oh, all you have to do is hold down R2. That's not a new mode. That's not even anything new. I I want to say it's a low budget Farpoint, but that's not the case because it does a lot of things better than Farpoint. But when you start to add all of these things up, it leads to a rather unsatisfying experience. It's so close to being a must play, but to being a PSVR2 staple, I don't think I can do it. And for some, it still may be. But there's ingredients in this pie, and there's some ingredients that are missing, and it's a dirty, rotten shame. On the counts of a draft at a Penguin convention, I do find you guilty.
So this reminds me of Scraper in a sense. Scraper VR. I don't remember if you played that game, but that's a game that seemed like it had a lot going on, right? They put a lot of effort into the story. The production values were like pretty high for a VR game. There's a lot of content there, and things mechanically worked, right? You could use an aim controller, DualShock Move. You could even use 3D rudder if you wanted to. Like, it had it all, and it all worked well, and it all ultimately kind of felt uninspired. And it's always hard to pinpoint what's wrong with these things. And I think the comparison of Hubris and Farpoint that you bring here is important because I loved Farpoint, and it's not doing anything amazing aside from great utilization of the aim controller. But it does sound like, just in terms of design, like pacing, where the enemies are going to be, how the enemies are going to act, what it looks like and feels like when you encounter a situation. Those things are important, but they're emergent, and you can't really discuss them technically because it's hard to put your finger on why it does or does not work. And that was my fear for this game. Hubris was like, it could check all the boxes, but in the end, it's like there's just something missing, like a soul to it that's missing. And it's a bit disappointing that you kind of feel that too.
Yeah, I think the plot is a big thing. I mean, I'm sorry. I struggle to think of a game with a worse plot. I mean, it's bad. It's just so uninteresting. I don't know. It's like if you could take this technical ability and put into a different game, you could have a game of the year, but it's not there. So here's the final verdict. Hubris, you have been tried here in the court. You have 4 to 5 hours of gameplay. You're $30. And based on the evidence I've laid out, on the sentence of being a PSVR 2 game worthy of playing, I do find you hung. And here's what I'll say. It's the best single-player sci-fi action game on the PSVR 2. You'll be impressed by the swimming, by the platforming, and even collecting things to craft upgrades is pretty cool. But I have a feeling you're going to agree with me that something is missing. Maybe it's simply the lackluster plot. Maybe it's the fact that the characters have absolutely no depth and the plot is predictable. I'm not sure. You may love the game. It does a lot right, but I cannot classify this as a must-play due to all these limitations. It's time to put it on the list. And I think this game infuriated me at times. I rage quit once because it's just, there are probably 5 points in the game where you don't know what you're doing. They don't tell you. It's really annoying. It's awful. And Alex, I think I rage quit today, and I was like, dude, I'm done. F this game. So you think I'm going to put it pretty low. I'm going to be reasonable here. It's a visually stunning game, and the locomotion feels so good. It could be one of these games where it could maybe be fun to speed run, because you can do it in 3.5 hours, I think, if you know what you're doing. I'm going to put it right above... Gosh. The thing between this and Red Matter, I think they're similar, but the difference is this has more combat and better combat. And because of that, I think I'm going to put it above Red Matter.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so I was thinking this would be like in Tentacular Transformers, Kayak VR Mirage territory. But you're saying this is better than Runner? This is better than Moss Book 2? This is one rung below humanity? That's very surprising based on what you've said here.
So I think for me, it's a very steep fall from humanity. Like they're
Okay.
not close. They may be back to back on our list, but there is a huge gap in between them. But I looked on these games and I'm like, okay, Demio, this is, you just know I hate Demio, so everything is better than that. Before Your Eyes, this is better than that. Puzzling Places, Afterlife VR, this is better than those. A Runner is there, and I really enjoy Runner, but this is so much more technically advanced. I could see putting it above that. And then I didn't play Moss. I don't like Moss. And this really matches. It's very similar to Red Matter 2, just it has combat. I think Red Matter 2 looks a little better, but they're on the same par visually. This has better combat. Again, the plot sucks. Red Matter 2's plot is probably better, but for an action-oriented individual like myself, I would put it above that.
All right. I mean, this is your place to put it. I think it is an interesting dichotomy that it's like, from what you've said, it sounds like you have, for what somebody could want in a game, on one spectrum you have the hubris type stuff, on the other spectrum you have Red Matter. Red Matter's like all soul with, gameplay mechanics kind of taken by the wayside, whereas hubris is like all gameplay mechanics and then like the soul of the game kind of put by the wayside. So if
they combine these two, I think you would have a top 3 game. But
if you combine these two, what you get is Resident Evil 8. So let's throw this on the list here at number. So this is going to be
number 8.
It's the new number 8. Okay, we'll push all these guys down. Good night, Cactus Cowboy at rank 32. And we have Hubris.
Cactus freaking Cowboy.
That's a big surprise to me. That's our highest rated hung jury, which is surprising, but that's the way this goes. Adam, we don't have very long here, but I want to.
I talk about Resident Evil later. I'm trying to think if would I play this again. So I'm not going to play this again, but depending on the person, like you, I think would like this. So if it's on sale, I would recommend you buy this.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no way it's a must play for everybody. There's just no way.
To be fair, I'm never going to play Red Matter 2 again. I enjoyed it for what it was, but it was like reading a good book, not a great book. And I have no desire to revisit that world again unless a sequel comes out, right? Or unless I lose access to a bunch of games, find my PSVR 2 headset 10 years from now, and it's like, oh, I remember Red Matter. What was that like again? But it's never going to be something I think of like that fondly, and I want to revisit that totally again. So I think Hubris fits in that vein for sure. Moss Book 2, kind of the same thing. I have no desire to play Moss Book 2 again. It was good, but I don't necessarily got to revisit it.
Yeah, and I think to reiterate, I think our top 7 games are really strong games. That it's going to be hard to move them. It's going to take a new Resident Evil. It's going to take a Synapse. It's going to take something significant to move them. But I think after the 7th game, there is a pretty sharp fall off, in my opinion, in terms of immersion, quality of the games, and having everything put together in one nice, present or game piece, whatever you want to call it. I'm ready for segment 2.
All right. Well, that's it for segment 1. So let's get out of here, back out, duck out, and we'll be right back after the break for segment 2, where I review Budget Cuts Ultimate. So you should budget cut this segment right now, Adam.
It's official. I love melons. Big melons, big sweet melons. I'm all for it. I am hyped up. I am fruity as ever, Alex, and I'm ready for segment 2.
All right, Adam, you pushed it off the end of segment 1, understandably. We have time constraints. I want to just touch base about Resident Evil 8. This game is phenomenal. As we said, I streamed it. It was great. I have to continue to stream this game because it's so scary. I just got through like the second of the 4 big environments that apparently I'm going to be encountering, and it was so horrifying. This was Silent Hill 2 levels of terror hitting me. And I don't want to spoil anything, but it was dark and it was creepy and it was scary and it got even scarier than I imagined. And that was thrilling. And then you come out of it and you have like a shotgun and you can get a grenade launcher and you get another shotgun. I even got a bayonet to put on the end of my shotgun. It's the roller coaster ride of empowerment and pure terror, constantly oscillating, is immaculate in terms of design and thrills and fun. And it all works so well in VR. Despite a little hiccups there, like ladder climbing is like whatever, but it's cool. We're so lucky we live in this era of gaming. I can't believe we get to do this. It's amazing. I do have 2 quick notes. All right, one note was already that I have to stream this game, so you'll see it on our streaming channel when I play it because I'm too terrified not to. I have to talk to somebody. The other thing is, I was reading people's top 5 posts on Reddit. I got to give a quick word of warning to everybody. Anyone who says in their top 5 PSVR 2 games they don't have Resident Evil 8, you're a charlatan, you're a liar, you're a damn fool. I hate everyone who doesn't have this in their top 5, and I hate everyone who has a PSVR 2 and won't play Resident Evil 8 on PSVR 2. That includes all you game journalists out there who claim to love Resident Evil and you have access to PSVR 2, but you just won't effing play it because you're a bunch of a-holes. It's so good. It's one of the best Resident Evils, and it's obviously the best way to play this game. It's incredible. Resident Evil 7 got that treatment. Resident Evil 8 got that treatment. This is my airing of grievance. We had it right in the middle of the podcast. You guys are lucky. You're welcome. You're welcome, listeners, that I'm angry now because these fools refuse to acknowledge that Resident Evil 8 exists in VR on PSVR 2. It is Game of the Year for the year that it came out, which is this year, 2023. Huge surprise. Resident Evil 8, which came out in 2022. The VR mode is a new game, and it's incredible, and it's one of the best games I've ever played in my life. Forget you, Final Fantasy 16. Forget you, Forspoken. Forget you, whatever the hell's coming out later this year. Resident Evil 8 takes the cake.
So is it better than you thought it would be?
Yes.
How much better?
I thought it was going to be, no pun intended, an 8 out of 10. It's a 9, maybe 9.5, quite possibly a 10 out of 10. It's just one of the best. What it does so well, and it never skips a beat. And the quality of life improvements for this type of game are bar none. I have a treasure map. I know which rooms I have explored. I don't have to waste time doing that. I know when I get a lockpick where the lockpick is going to be applied. I can check my map. I reload the weapons. It feels so good. My only complaint is the enemies are bullet spongy, but I just found out that the guy I wasted all my ammunition on, I can in fact kill him if I get enough. So I just got to go back and find him again. It's so good. I freaking love it.
So you were clearly very excited for Resident Evil 4. Now that you're in Resident Evil 8, are you as excited? Do you think Resident Evil 8 could hold up to 4? Do you think 4 is still going to be a better game just because of the game itself? What are your thoughts there?
I think 4 is going to be better, and it's because I'm looking at the parallel of how much people liked Resident Evil 8, which they loved it, compared to how much they love Resident Evil 4 Remake, which they freaking love it. And if we're just getting that same treatment, like, they don't have to do much more. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be a better game. Resident Evil 4 is objectively, supposedly a better game than Resident Evil 8. So Resident Evil 4 VR, if it has the same level of improvements to it that Resident Evil 8 VR has, then it will be an objective game, better game than Resident Evil 8. So maybe that is going to be Game of the Year 2023. I don't know. I don't have to know. It's going to be the first year of twin Games of the Year, if that's what it comes down to. I'm not afraid to say it. We're going to do it. It's too incredible to ignore. It enrages me that the normal gaming media at large, gaming community at large, lets this fly under the radar. I know there's a price tag attached to getting a PSVR 2. I know all that stuff exists. But when Halo came out for the first time on Xbox, and Xbox is the most expensive console you could ever get, nobody talked about the fact that Halo's really good, but Xbox is really expensive. They just talked about how good Halo was. We don't need to be talking about, it's only on PSVR 2. Resident Evil 8 VR is just the best first-person shooter you have in VR. I've played Half-Life, Alex. It's great. Resident Evil 8 is better than that, and I'm ashamed of anyone who says otherwise.
Big words. Big words. But Alex, I do want to move on to give you ample time to discuss budget cuts, but Wonders. There will be a early 2024 release. This is a game we talked about, I believe, on the State of Play and how it looks like it's got potential, son.
Yeah, I was disappointed when it was announced that it wasn't going to be a free upgrade. They just released a blog post detailing the enhancements, the improvements. Kudos to them. Really smart, because people are upset. They're burned by the fact that these games aren't coming out with free upgrades. I forget the one that just came out that everybody's mad about. That's fine. Because this isn't just a remaster. This isn't just like a remake of Wonders. It's almost like a sequel, it looks like, where they've added more levels, they've added more weapons, they've enhanced the combat. They've said a complete visual overhaul, which is obvious from the trailers. Now locomotion actually works because you're not using move controllers. Full body avatar for your character. The platforming is enhanced, so that stuff that you liked in Hubris, you're going to get that here, and it's probably going to be better. Larger, more open worlds. Awesome. And better time travel continuity. How the heck is that something you improve upon when you're doing a remake? That sounds like an integral part of the story and gameplay, and they made that better too. As in, I'm in this time era, and I jump to this time era. I go back to this time era. Guess what? Everything's exactly the way I left it because I freaking time traveled. Nothing should change. I can't wait for this. And early 2024, that sounds like a subtle way of telling us it was delayed because I think we all anticipated 2023. That's fine. I have Resident Evil 8 to play over and over and over again until this comes out. So it looks like it's going to be a total winner. From everything I hear about the PSVR 1 version, PSVR 2 version is going to be amazing. So yeah, this is awesome. Great. I love it.
You need to quit your job because you need to finish Humanity. And that is going to just, I mean, you aren't even close, dude. Yeah, I mean, I
know.
It's just not enough time. All right, I want to hear about budget cuts. It's something, one of the staples of VR, seemingly. It's everywhere. And you've reviewed it. It's at some point going to go on sale. I'm going to consider it, but I need your judgment on it before I can continue or even really consider it.
Yeah, all right, so let's get into it. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Sam Budget Cuts. It is brought to us by Nico Software, which I think is a portmanteau of Neat Corporation, the developer/publisher of the game. The game is $29.99, and the review copy was provided by the publisher, so thank you for that. I now present my case. Intergenerational leaps are always exciting when it comes to video games. After all, who doesn't love to revisit their former favorite haunts with a fresh coat of paint applied, a couple of new features thrown in, and a slathering of new content? However, what many come to forget is that while technology obviously advances, game design does so as well with time. I recalled salivating at the prospect of Castlevania Chronicles Collection being released on the PlayStation after spending years, maybe a decade, reminiscing about my NES days with that franchise, only for my mouth to abruptly dry up the moment I jumped 1 pixel too late as Simon Belmont and he overshot the platform, plummeting to his death. Like a woman heading out to meet a blind date only to end up meeting Adam, my heart sank as the reality of the classics sat down and shattered the hopes of my expectations. It's a pitfall that's avoidable with remakes and remasters, but only if you're aware of them. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I present to you Budget Cuts Ultimate, a celebrated VR classic, if indeed VR is old enough to entertain the notion. Who dares to revisit the latest generation of virtual reality? Does it stand the test of time, or does it just barely miss the landing? Let's find out. Budget Cuts Ultimate, we're going to judge you on 3 counts. The first count being mundane in the membrane. Budget Cuts Ultimate is essentially Metal Gear Solid meets Office Space. There's this ironic tension between the mundane and the insane going on in this game. You are a person who works in a standard corporation, and humans are being outsourced, and it appears you're the last human in this company as you're being replaced with robots. You find out that all these people going on vacation or getting fired are actually being killed, and you're trying to escape this corporation before you get found out. So this humor is brought to you in the game with this whole office life motif. People talking about robots talking about, oh, it'd be great to go on vacation. I love my job. I love going to work. And it's mixed with these murderous robots and stealth assassinations that you're committing, because as you're trying to escape this corporation that wants to hunt you down and kill you within the workspace, there are sentry robots walking around looking for humans to annihilate so they can create an entire robot race. This comedic theme is present throughout. You get these ironic, HR memos spread about and notes that you can read, or things overhead from the CEO that are a bit humorous, and it's charming at first, but it begins to wear thin over time and, of course, over repetition as you hear these things over and over again. Although I will say some of these other elements of the game, it's visually impressive. It's very sharp and clean, I should say. It's not so impressive like Red Matter, but it's very, inoffensive to look at. And the musical score is surprisingly good. Nothing heart-wrenching, but it really sets the mood and the tone for this kind of stealth movement through these environments that you're going for. You're a sneaky dude trying to get out of this big building. So for all that, on the count of Mundane in the Membrane, I find you guilty. Adam.
I'm curious what type of humor is involved. There's dry humor, there's potty humor, there is outlandish humor, because I like Office Space. That is funny, and that's kind of the humor of, I guess maybe you can classify as dry humor, and maybe I'm taking that metaphor of yours a little too far. How would you classify the humor? Because obviously I feel like a big part of enjoying this game would be appreciating that humor aspect.
I don't know if it's dry or whatever. It does just seem kind of sarcastic. A lot of sarcastic humor. It's not Office Space in terms of humor. It's Office Space in terms of setting of like, man, how horrible is this life where you're in a cubicle for the majority of your life, and the thing you look forward to is donuts in the break room, right? It's that kind of joke. And the robot's talking, a robot slowly dying and talking about how he loves dreams, or he has dreams and he loves working so hard and now he's dead. It's funny like the first time, but it happens every time. And you're going to kill a lot of robots in this process. You're going to throw things a lot of robots who say things robotically like, oh, you are disturbing me while I'm working, coworker. And again, it's interesting the first time you see it, but after that, and I can only read so many memos scattered about that's like a subtle plug at like, oh, we're working so hard, but HR says we can't take vacation and stuff. I get it. It's funny. It's silly, but it kind of wears thin over time.
Cool.
All right. On to the second count. The second count is safety is my middle name. So early generation VR had the limitation where people were afraid, right? They're afraid of how this game's going to get the players to respond. We can't go too fast. We rely on teleportation as locomotion instead of smooth locomotion, snap turning, things like that. We're not trying to climb a lot of things. We're not trying to jump. We certainly don't want to speed the pace up too much. And this is an area where I think Budget Cuts suffers a bit. Now, I don't want to move past the fact that they added enhancements to it. On PSVR 1, Budget Cuts 1 had only teleportation locomotion. So you have a gun called the Translocator. It shoots out a little marble. And this is actually kind of a clever conceit, given the time the game was made, that you shoot that gun. That's how you teleport. But before you confirm that teleportation, you have a little window you can view, and you can look around to see what's on the other side of that teleportation, which is nice in a stealth game. I want to know what's around that corner before I go around that corner. So I shoot the marble, and then I can look and see what's around the corner before I actually make the leap. That's nice. It doesn't feel good to do it in VR these days. Now that we all have our VR legs, we're all used to walking around. But the game is still designed around that movement because the game wasn't originally designed with the smooth locomotion. And these kind of things can hold the game back now that we've played these games. There's other little elements here, like, we've more or less mastered the art of inventory systems in games. However, this one has one that's just a bit too cumbersome to enjoy what's happening. You have 8 slots of which you can hold things, and so I got to grab things like a coffee mug so I can throw it at a robot to stun him so I can get away. Or you have these knives that you pick up and you throw, and that will just, disable a robot and kill it, and there's oil splattering everywhere. But you can only carry so much. But to transfer from your teleportation locomotion, which you have to do to get through windows and stuff like that, you have to change what your hands are doing. I have to change from a grabber to a teleporter, change from a grabber to a bow and arrow, which I then have to change my other hand to the grabber so I can hold the arrow. You have to change to your scanner tool that you have. So it's problems that have now been solved that weren't solved initially. So kudos to them for devising these clever solutions to resolve these problems, but it just doesn't feel great nowadays. All that being said, the game is a lot of stealth. There's a little bit of puzzle solving here as well. So you're sneaking through these environments or trying to take out these enemies with whatever you have on hand. But the real goal is like, how do I get from point A to point B? You know, open this door, find this key, you know, hack this thing so that I can progress. And the puzzles, for the most part, they range from like the really simple, like, okay, just find 3 computers and hit a button. But sometimes, like, there's a boss fight with a robot named Adam, which is funny enough. And you can't do anything to him. You don't have any weapons. So you have to figure out like a way to navigate through this map while like distracting him. But the map they give you is a real map in the game, and holding it, it's just, I have no idea how to conceptualize where I am in this map space. And it just feels like something that could have been done better. Resident Evil 8 does it better. It shows me where I am on the map, which wouldn't make sense in the context of this game, but we don't necessarily need full context. So the game plays it safe. Everything it's doing, it's playing it safe because it was designed around last gen. And for that reason, on the count of safety is my middle name, I find Budget Cuts Ultimate guilty.
You know, it's a little disappointing for me to hear that, especially with it being moved to the PSVR 2 and things of that nature. But I don't really have a question. I will be curious to see how this has impacted your final verdict. But at this time, I think I'm just going to listen and let you continue.
All right, on to the third count, the count of hiding in plain sight. Now, this game is a stealth game. Stealth games are really hard in VR. I mean, we have games that try to do stealth, and none of them are resounding successes, but this is particularly because stealth games in first person just never really work that well, and this is locked in first person. It's hard to get a bearing about where the enemies are. It's hard to get a bearing about what the environment actually is because you're not overhead like you would be in Metal Gear Solid. You don't have this third person camera to really realize the layout of the environment like you would in something like Splinter Cell or any other stealth game that people come to love. And that is kind of a limitation here. So it suffers for that. I don't know where the enemies are. I don't have enough weapons. I don't know where to find weapons. If I'm looking for a key, I forget where that key was. It's really easy to get turned around. But in sometimes the game does it right. And when stealth is good is when you feel that tension and you succeed. And there were certainly many times when I'm moving through the environment, I get surprised by a robot. I swiftly move away. And the heat is on where I'm racing to a door. I'm racing to find a path. I'm trying to creatively move through this environment and get a solution to the problem on hand. And when that happens, it does happen in the game sometimes. When that happens, it's a total thrill. I feel clever, and the game has presented me solutions that I'm able to quickly process. And that comes down to design, right? And the game's not meant to be gone through quickly, but with smooth locomotion and the way we play games now in VR, we want to move quickly sometimes. So that's one of the issues for me, is just the overall stealth design of a game is a bit difficult. And because of that, it just feels like in these elements, last gen comes around, rears its ugly head for us. Although I will say that this game is ultimately a combination of Budget Cuts 1 and Budget Cuts 2 smashed together into one seamless game. And you can, there's a stark difference, when Budget Cuts 2 begins, because the game opens up. It feels a bit more current generation than Budget Cuts 1 did. You suddenly get a bow and arrow, and you get darts, and you can snipe robots from a distance with the dart, although it still is not a stealth game because you have limited ammunition for that bow and arrow. Although I will say, again, maybe this is a last gen issue, the bow and arrow has these crosshairs, and when you line them up and you shoot the arrow, it's like I have a 50-50 chance of that still hitting the enemy, even though I lined them up, I took a breath, I know I'm not shaking, but I still miss, and I just don't quite get it, which really puts a damper on the effort I put into getting myself into a good position so that I could take out the enemy. All that being said, though, I feel like I'm harping on the downsides a lot. You do have this roller coaster ride, like I mentioned in Resident Evil, where you're going from overpowered to underpowered. Sometimes I walk into a room, there's a handful of robots, I have a ton of knives, and I just take them all out. That feels great. Sometimes you walk into a room, you have no weapons, you have no way of taking them out, and you really got to rely on the stealth. I enjoyed that. And when the puzzles do click immediately or relatively quickly, you do feel clever. But there was a lot of times when I got from point A to point B to point C to point D, and I got through it by brute force. I was just kind of throwing everything at the wall and seeing how I can get through here, only to realize after the fact, oh, that was how I was supposed to solve this puzzle. That was how I was supposed to get here, which Sure, it's a clever design, but it's not well presented to the player in a sense that you feel like you're taking part of that accomplishment. It's the developers have made a cool layout, but you don't get to enjoy it because you're too busy just kind of scratching your head trying to figure out what's going on. So there's a good game here, but that good game is hiding in plain sight from all of the last gen stuff that you're encountering. So on that count, I find Budget Cuts on the count of hiding in plain sight guilty.
Was with the stealth aspects, were you ever tempted to quit playing because it was annoying because of the stealth, or was it manageable?
Yeah, there were times where it's just like, it feels like stealth that wasn't designed entirely around stealth. It's almost like in some situations they want, like the only way they expect me to get through this is by disabling a robot. Or having some weapons on hand. But if I don't have weapons on hand, it's really hard to figure out, like, okay, how am I supposed to get there other than hoping I can launch this teleporter across the map and get there just quickly before anybody turns around. And I don't really like that kind of troubleshooting method of approaching a stealth game. So yeah, there were times, certainly last time I played it, just got frustrating. It's like, obviously I'm missing something here. I'm just going to stop and come back tomorrow.
Cool. Final verdict time.
All right, final thoughts. Neat Corporation has made a fine port of the original game and brought its better, stronger, and handsomer brother with it. The game has plenty of meat on its bones in terms of length, as it's effectively two games seamlessly combined into one, with the latter half being an obvious but welcome improvement over the first. But even then, the mechanical limitations of early VR games rears its head at times, reminding you that this game, this design, is not for this generation. And that's okay, because many haven't experienced budget cuts in the PSVR ecosystem, and anyone stuck in the PSVR ecosystem definitely hasn't even heard of the sequel to Budget Cuts. So it's a new game for us. And if your interest is piqued in trying your hand at one of the first polished and complete games of yesteryear, you now have a valid and valuable choice in front of you for what you could go for. And this is a bit odd, Adam. I don't know where I'm standing on this game right now, but I think my ultimate choice is that I find Budget Cuts Ultimate guilty. Barely got over the hung jury. It's a good game. It's a good game. It has limitations to it. It's not a world beater. It's not a classic that, stands the test of time necessarily, but because we're about 5 years into VR, it feels like something like that. It's still a very good game, and it's still a very fun game to play through, and I've had a really good time with it. And yeah, a lot of that legwork is done by the second half of the game, the newer game, but you have to have played the first game to kind of understand what's going on. So there it is, Adam.
I feel like I disagree. Have you even played it? But based on what you said, the limitations, I don't understand how it could be guilty, but whatever. Go ahead. Let's put it on our final list here, our all-time rankings. I know you're probably going to fart around. We've got 30.
No, I got it right here, Adam. So we're going to put this guy above Drums Rock and below Puzzling Places. I think that makes a lot of sense for me. That seems to make sense. I enjoyed it more than Drums Rock. I'm going to go back. I'd be more likely to revisit this than I would Drums Rock. And like I said, it's very polished and it's a fun, good game. There's just some struggles that you have, and some of that, I admit, is me, and some of that is its time of when this game was made and when we're playing it now. But it's not a bad game by any means, so I think it fits perfectly there. At number 17, above Drums Rock and below Puzzling Places.
Interesting. Okay, middle of the road. Alex, I want to cover these sales because there is a game you're going to try to convince me to play because you've got 2 games to play this week. Synapse. You're going to finish and beat Pixel Ripped. I don't have a game, and I want a game. I think you're going to try to convince me to buy Synth Riders. That's my guess. I'm assuming Synth Riders is on sale. Don't tell me. Let's go ahead and go through the sales. Let's hit it and quit it.
All right out of the gate, we have Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge, the game that people have said has brought tears to Star Wars fans' eyes because it's the first time they fully felt like they were in the Star Wars universe. It is on sale, 20% off from $49.99 down to $39.99. How you feeling about it, Adam?
Not enough of a sale. If you're a Star Wars fan, you already have it. And if you're not, that's not enough of a sale. 50% off for get out of here.
All right. Well, next we have Les Mills Body Combat. Now, you know me, Adam. I'm a guy who loves box VR. I
You
still
love
have it on
hard
my
bodies.
I love heart. Well, of course. This is that game. A lot of exercise stuff, but I'm really interested in the box VR component, the punching to rhythm, punching version of Beat Sabers. This game is on sale from $29.99 down to $23.99, and if you're a PlayStation Plus subscriber, it's down to $20.99. How you feeling about this, Adam?
The PSVR 2 headset is so uncomfortable. I cannot fathom moving in a action or a fitness game. I have no interest in this whatsoever. I can barely play normal games. It's so uncomfortable and it hurts me. So I'm going to pass. Hard pass.
I mean, I still have box VR, so this game's gonna have to drop to like $10, $15 before I can start considering buying it. Yeah, makes sense, Adam. Next, we have Synth Riders Remastered Edition, the PSVR 2 version of Synth Riders. It is on sale. It is 40% off if you are a normal scrub. It is just 40% off. I guess there's no PS Plus discount. $15 for Synth Riders Remastered Edition.
This is where you may get me. It's now or never for Synth Riders, right? I really don't think it's going to get cheaper than this. Maybe if you wait all the way to Christmas, you might get a 50 or 60% off. I feel like it's do or die. You talked it up big time in the start of the show. Reddit people love it. This might be the game.
Just thinking right now, $24.99 is a more than fair price for the game. You know, just what little I've played, I think $25 is a great price for it. Although there's a lot of content out there that you still have to buy as DLC, but that allows you to pick and choose what you're going to spend money on, right? In terms of songs that you want to play. Like the experiences I played were like $2 each. That was well worth it. 15's a done deal for me. I highly recommend that, but that's not necessarily my recommendation. There's another game on the list.
Sure. Okay, let's go. Let's keep going.
The next game on the list, Garden of the Sea. It is 50% off if you're a scrub, 60% off if you're PlayStation Plus subscriber. That brings the total price down to $12.49 normally, or $24.99 normally. Price brought down to $12.49 or $10 if you are a PlayStation Plus subscriber. Adam, I loved this game, and $10. That is the no-brainer price point. That is the you gotta do it price point. If you are vaguely interested in what Garden of the Sea presents you, and I recommend all listeners go back to that episode and listen to my review of it, you gotta bite. $10 is not much for the amount of joy you will get out of this game.
I need to go back and listen to the review because I don't quite remember it. I remember thinking I wasn't very interested in this. It just looks like a children's game. I'm not about that. But you loved it. I'll listen to the review. I'll consider it. But I'm going to be honest. There's no way I'm going to buy this and Synth Riders. There's just no way. And on the surface, Synth Riders looks more fun. So next week, we'll see. Do you have an argument for Garden of the Sea based on what I just told you? Not
based on what you just told me, but what you've told me today is how much you enjoy puzzling places for its relaxation. This is a game that goes out of its way to not frustrate you. And in that, it goes out of its way to constantly be, opening up gems of enjoyment for you to entertain yourself with. It unfolds itself, and unfortunately, by the time you feel like it's peaking, it's done. So it's relatively short, but not too short. I loved every moment I had with this game. Let me pull up the ranking and tell you exactly where it lands. It's sitting there at number 13 on our all-time list. I've $10. It's too good to not try it out there. But I think you would like Synth Riders more. I think adding the $5 on there is worth it for that sure bet. I know you will like Synth Riders. I have a very strong feeling you will like Garden of the Sea.
I don't like cute games. I'm not a fan of the cuteness, and Garden of the Sea looks cute. Okay, are there any other games?
Yeah, Star Tenders Intergalactic Bartending is down to $10.49, or it is down to $9.74 if you're a PlayStation Plus subscriber.
I would rather spend that $9.74, go on a blind date, and disappoint a girl.
Now, this next game is a game I'm definitely going to bite on. Oregon Quarter. They fixed the name. It's no longer Corgan Quarter. It is down 5% or 25% off if you're PlayStation Plus, 20% off if you're normal. $24.99 is marked down to $19.99 or $18.74 if you're PS Plus. I'm going to go for it. This looks like Silent Hill VR in every way that I want it to be, including the jank.
I mean, you have so many games to play already. You really shouldn't buy this. You don't have the time. Finish Humanity. Finish it. Finish a game before you buy another one. I'm not playing this.
Oh, I want it, Adam. I want it. All right. Then, like, seemingly every puzzle pack for Puzzling Places is discounted. They are... They are like all of them are $3 or $3.50 or $2.89 or something like that. So if you're wanting to get Puzzling Places levels, go for it now. Now is the time to do it. They're all on sale right now, 30% off. So a couple bucks off the normal price of $5. Are you going to buy some new puzzles, Adam?
I love the space and scientific ones. Love them. My favorite ones. If there's more of those, I'm going to tap that. If there's any that are like spooky haunted houses or, you know, something like cottages, I'm a buy that. If there's anything to do, and I don't want this to come across inappropriately or anything, but anything to do with Asian cultures, I'm not buying that. I'm not into that. And for some reason, they all have all these freaking puzzles about kimonos and these, I don't know, Asian bodegas or something. I don't know. I don't want that.
Yeah, it looks like, just looking at the packs available here, there's like one where you're like the lands of Sweden. There's one that is the Ukraine pack. There's the Promenade in Portugal. There's the Churches of Catalonia. There's the Remarkable Rooms. There's the Greece pack. There's the Antique Treasures pack. I mean, it looks like a good variety, and I think it hits the nail on the head for some of the things you're requesting. So I think you got to take a look, man.
Giddy up. Okay,
Giddy
what's
up,
next?
Baby. That's it. That's all the sales, Adam.
Wow, that is all the sales. Very interesting. So, dude, I'm very excited and happy that you like Resident Evil 8. I'm somewhat interested in Synapse. I've heard it's good. I've heard it's short. I feel like I gotta wait for a sale. Have you already bought it or have you not bought it?
It's downloaded, but I played Resident Evil 8 instead. I thought I was going to play Resident Evil 8 for an hour. I even set a timer on my phone to remind me to switch over to Synapse at midnight when it finally released. But I was in the mode, man. I was not letting go of that Resident Evil ride that I was on, man. It's too good. It's too good to let go once you've been bitten, man. And that's a vampire joke for you for Resident Evil 8. I'm now a Resident Evil 8 vampire. I am Big Booby Ruby.
Yeah, baby. Are you going to go play it after this podcast?
Maybe. I mean, I do want to play Synapse. It's gotten rave reviews so far, and I'm very excited to play it. But it's one of those things where, like, if it's too good, I feel like I might be disincentivized to go back to Resident Evil 8, and I want to finish Resident Evil 8.
I meant Resident Evil 8. Are you going to play Resident Evil 8 after this?
I feel like I just have to. I don't have to officially review Synapse unless I just want to pump the numbers on this podcast. But Resident Evil 8, I'm gonna keep playing that in my free time. Then after that, maybe Synapse, but I might revisit Light Brigade because that gave me the same feels I was looking for. Early June days, right there. That's a game that warrants attention, and Synapse and Light Brigade are kind of in the same vein. A lot of people are saying similar feelings about how the game is enjoyable because it's the roguelike stuff. Because Synapse is so fresh, I feel like maybe I have to enjoy it while the zeitgeist is in flow. But Resident Evil 8.
I'm going to play some VR after this. I'm not sure what I'm going to try. I could see moving toward like a chill game, but so Synth Riders, could you become a better dancer by getting some moves down playing Synth Rider?
I don't think you're going to like remember the moves from Synth Rider and then bust them out on the dance floor, but I do think it will kind of educate you on what types of movements are like appropriate dancing. You know, when you're like a young boy and you want to dance to a song, all you can think about is like fighting and you're just like punching and stuff like that. Yeah. This gets you away from that at the very least. You know, they're not tracking your hips, which is an important component in dancing, and your feet and whatnot, but you still feel like you're having a good time. You feel like you're grooving. I mean, this would be an excellent dance party if everybody had VR headsets on and you were just listening to music and playing synth riders together, of course you couldn't see anybody else dancing, but whatever, man. I don't care. I want to play synth riders. They also added a bunch of modes like spiral mode, which looks almost like a Vertigo home mode of synth riders. That looks pretty cool. It'll make you a better dancer, Adam.
I like to explore my body in that way, and so I'm interested in. Like, and through the mirror, or the window, you got to look like an absolute fool. But
watch the stream. I turned my camera on. You can see how you look.
Yeah, you look stupid, but I can't tell if that's you or that's the game. It's hard to tell. And a little complaint I've got with PSVR 2 here. It's a small one, but it's still a complaint. When you turn the headset on and you go into a game, it does that stupid thing where it looks at the environment to be sure it's what it expects. But the first pop-up immediately asks, hey, do you want to reset? And so when something pops up, I immediately hit X. Yes, hurry up. I want to play the game. But it's because it hasn't looked at the room long enough. I mean, I know it only takes 3 seconds, but I hit X as soon as the pop-up comes up because I don't read it. Then I have to reset the whole freaking thing because I didn't wait for it to analyze. Do you see that? Or is that just...
Yeah, I mean, since I'm currently moving into my office still slowly but surely, my environment's always different. So it's always like, oh, you're in a new room. We got to scan this again. I need to hang up like things on my wall. I get tracking issues because my walls are bare right now. I got to hang up posters and pictures and stuff so it has something to latch onto. But it is annoying. I mean, my biggest complaint is that I hate if I put the headset on first, I can't turn the console on with the headset like I could on PSVR 1.
Yeah.
And so if I forget to like turn on the controllers and get things ready and then put the headset on, I have to like put it on. It's like, crap, I forgot. Better take it off and do the whole song and dance. It's a very minor complaint, but I just wish I could turn the system on with the headset so then I could do pass through and find everything else I needed.
No doubt. I also, I agree with that. I understand being able to block out things in your room so you don't hit them, but I don't use that. I make the play area essentially my entire house. I make it as wide as it'll let me because I don't want to be encumbered. Do I punch the aquarium? Have I hit the lamp? Have I punched my sofa? Yes, but that's part of playing VR, baby. It wouldn't be VR if you don't put your body on the line.
It's a feature.
High reward.
Yeah, it's a high risk, high reward, baby. That's his whole podcast. That's how you know you're playing VR. That's how you know you're getting too into it and it snaps you back to reality. If you don't punch the fan and find out that there's blood all over your controller because you have a cut on your finger that you didn't know about because you were too proud and too engaged to take that headset off, that's how you know you had a good time. Otherwise, you're just punching in the wind, baby. It's stupid.
Absolutely. Have you tried the Vader 1 gun stock? I'm assuming not.
No, I've not had the time.
Okay, maybe you should. I don't know how it would work with Resident Evil 8.
I think Light Brigade is going to be my go-to there.
Yeah, that could be. All right, I'm done riffing.
All right, then we'll get out of here. That is it for episode 126 of Play PSVR 2, the podcast. Thank you for joining us for June Days, everybody. It was great to stream these games and talk with a couple of you through the robot voice on YouTube. I'm now infected with the itch to stream and whatever itch Shafe Dog gave me in our boxing matches. So be on the lookout for more streams from us on our streaming channel. But we are here primarily to keep you informed, to keep your ears warmed, to keep your hearts pumping and your bodies rocked with content on this podcast. You can find it on YouTube. Our channel is named Gaming is in Session, or you can hit us up on iTunes, Spotify, everywhere podcasts live, and leave us a review so I can tell my dad how great I'm doing. That said, we'll see you next week. So for Adam, I'm Alex, and this has been Play PSVR 2, the podcast, where virtual reality is our reality.